All right, going live. Just a second. There we go. Oh, looks pretty choppy. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Chris Berry, certified outlaw attorney, certified financial planner with Castle Wealth Group. And we do these weekly wisdom webinars every Wednesday where we're just logging on, answering any questions that are either submitted ahead of time or submitted while we're on the call. And we always start with a positive focus, just something positive that happened over the previous week. And we just got done with Memorial Day. So hopefully everyone had a wonderful Memorial Day. Spent it doing all the family stuff. My daughter participated in a 5K and she got 27 minutes, which is pretty good for a 10-year-old. And then my 12-year-old was in the middle school band and got to walk in the Memorial Day parade. So that was pretty exciting. So good kind of Memorial Day family stuff. Now with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And if you do have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A. I do have two questions that kind of go hand in hand that were submitted ahead of time. So I'm going to go over those. There we go. Took a while. All right. So, and if you do want to see how this information applies to your specific situation, feel free to reach out to us. Okay. So the first question, my dad moved, has a new address. I have a new address as well. Or are there any changes that need to be made to his trust or estate plan? So let's say you set up a estate plan, and I'm just making things up, but let's say you set up a estate plan in 2015. Now you've had a change of address. Are there any legal changes that need to happen? No, if we have the address listed in the documents, it's more of a cosmetic change. The only changes that would be necessary would be more legal changes. Like if we wanted to change the distribution or change beneficiaries or change trustees, then we'd have to update the estate plan. And then at that time we would update like the address and stuff like that. But for our purposes, whenever there is a change, we want to make sure that we capture that internally, whether it's for the individual setting up the trust or the beneficiaries, just so that if something were to happen, we're able to reach out to them so that we can track down the beneficiaries. And that's why whenever we're setting up an estate plan for our clients, one of the things we do is we ask for our clients to list out contact information for the beneficiaries. Of course, those things are going to change, and that doesn't warrant a change to the estate plan. But if there is a change for the beneficiaries or change in terms of you as a person setting up the estate plan, our office would want to be contacted. There's no legal changes that have to be made, but it's important that we have a record just in case we need to reach out to someone for something. So hopefully that was helpful. And again, if you do have any legal, financial, or tax questions, anything on your mind, just put it in the Q&A. This is going to be the cheapest time you ever spend with an attorney, so I'll make sure you get your money's worth. All right, so now the second question piggybacked on that. So when he sold the house, the money is sitting in a savings account. It doesn't appear to be in the name of the trust. What should we do? So it's really important to understand estate administration. So how do assets transfer out of someone's name upon death? Because once you understand that, you realize that this could be an issue if it's just, let's say, in dad's name. So there's 4 ways that assets transfer. One would be through joint ownership. So if there's someone joint on that checking account, it would go to whoever's listed joint. Second would be through beneficiary designations. So maybe there is a beneficiary listed on that savings account. That's not going to be directly in the title, but at the bank, you could see if there is a beneficiary listed. Third would be, it could be owned by a trust. And depending on the type of trust you have, you might want to have the trust as the owner versus the beneficiary of that checking or savings account. But if an asset doesn't pass through one of the first 3 ways, then it ends up going into probate. So that's the issue. We don't want anything to end up going into probate. So if this money is, let's say, sitting in a savings account and it's not in the name of the trust and it's just in dad's name, well, it's not joint. I don't know if you've named a beneficiary. Obviously, it's not in the trust, so then it would end up going into probate. So yeah, that's a big issue. So what I'd like to see is if you have a revocable living trust, then I'd like to see the trust listed as a beneficiary. If there's a big chunk of change there and you have a castle trust, I'd like the castle trust or the asset protection trust to be the owner of that account. And then the second thing, and I'm mentioning this to any clients that have money sitting in cash, see what the interest rate is. Right now, like we have cash accounts, like high yield savings accounts. We have one through our firm, and I just saw that the rates are going up in June. You're getting 4.65%, and that's completely liquid. So if you do have, say, more than $50,000 sitting in cash, we have high yield online savings accounts that you can get 4.65% completely liquid. So you're not locked into a CD or anything like that. So something to think about if we do have a lot of money sitting in a savings account. But the big thing here is just if we do have any type of bank accounts, make sure that we have it either a beneficiary listed or it's in the trust. Too often I see individuals or we'll get calls that mom or dad passed away and the checking or savings account was either joint or with a spouse who also passed away or not in the trust or not listing any beneficiaries, and now it ends up going into probate. So it sounds like this could be one of those situations where if we do have the savings account and it doesn't appear to be in the name of the trust, you need to make sure the trust is either listed as a beneficiary or you need to go in and change ownership to the trust. So, all right. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me see if there's any other questions coming in here. And if you do have a question, feel free to throw it in the Q&A because I don't have any others kind of ready to go. I just had the two legal questions there. All right, here's one. Can Treasury bills be put in an IRA? When buying T-bills, is there? Yep. All right, so the question here is about Treasury bills. Let me get back to sharing my screen. I appreciate the questions. So let me hit a couple buttons to get this going. All right, so the question is, can Treasury bills be in an IRA? When buying Treasury bills, is there a checkbox or something to designate as IRA? Okay, so we're talking about T-bills. So the question is, can T-bills go into an IRA? So yeah, so the question is, can we have Treasury bills go into an IRA? The answer to this is yes. Okay, we do this for our clients right now, where we have an IRA. Think of an IRA kind of like a box. There's a lot of different things that you can invest in inside of that box. That's an IRA. It could be just sitting in cash. You could have stocks. You could have bonds. You could have T-bills. You could have fixed index annuities. You could have buffered ETFs, which we're doing a lot of right now, along with the T-bills. So all of these things can be invested inside of the IRA. Now the question is, when buying T-bills, is there a checkbox or something to designate as an IRA? Well, the T-bill, you would have to. It's not. You don't. It's not like you buy a T-bill and then you move it to the IRA. Instead, you go to your IRA custodian and you tell them, hey, I want to invest T-bills inside of my IRA. So it's not like you're going to treasurydirect.gov. This is very different than I-bonds, okay? So, and hopefully we don't mean I-bonds, which have been pretty hot. So I-bonds, which are tied to inflation, it's not the same thing as Treasury bills. Okay? Treasury bills are more like CDs, but offered by the government. And yes, you can buy them inside of IRA. I-bonds you get directly from treasurydirect.gov. Those cannot be inside of an IRA, at least as far as I'm aware of. they can be in your name, or they can be in the name of the trust. But I don't think you can do I bonds inside of an IRA. Treasury bills you can, and we've been doing that quite a bit. One of the benefits of Treasury bills right now is you're getting a 4 to 5% guaranteed rate of return for a period of time. So it certainly does appeal to a lot of clients given the uncertainty we have. So do actually a big thing, and I kind of touched upon this. Buffered ETFs are really a big thing right now. And why don't I just spend a minute talking about buffered ETFs? So, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Nope, didn't mean to do that. So just I want to spend a minute talking about buffered ETFs because it's a tool that's really popular right now and not a lot of people have heard of them. So with a buffered expected rate on I bonds, I bonds were at about 9%. They've been dropping. I think right now they're about 7%, and I'd see them to continue to drop. Historically, I bonds have gotten like 1 to 2% rate of return, but with all the inflation right now, they're still performing pretty well. But that might be coming to an end. But a tool I like right now is what's called a buffered ETF. The way a buffered ETF is, it works like this. Let's say you're following the S&P 500, which is pretty volatile, okay? And you can get this as what's called an exchange traded fund, okay? But a buffered ETF, it builds in a buffer. So let's say you put $100,000 into this buffered ETF. Now it builds in downside protection, and let's say we get a buffer of 20%, meaning if we drop 10%, we still don't lose anything. Okay, we haven't gained, we haven't lost because it's within that buffer zone. We have to pay some fees, but that's not much. But if we're to lose, say, 25%, then we actually only lose 5% because we have that buffer. Now, of course, there's a cap. Okay, and so that cap is, let's say, about 12%. Meaning if it goes up 10, you get the 10. If it goes up 20, you get 12. Okay. So really what you're doing is you're saying, you know what, chances are, because this is, I think it's only happened 3 times in the past 25 years where the market, and after a year, was actually down more than 20%. Chances are you're going to be anywhere from where you're at now to gaining 12% over the next year. So that's not a bad deal, given kind of the volatility. So chances are you're going to get anywhere from 0 to 12% over the next year. Outperforming kind of the CDs, assuming the market does go up a little bit, but you get downside protection. Nice thing about this is it's completely liquid. And this can be done inside of IRAs and trusts and that type of thing. So interesting little tool, buffered ETF. I'm not saying you should throw everything in there, especially long-term money, but especially short-term, because we expect continued volatility with everything kind of tracking up over the next year or so. But still, there's nothing to say that the market's going to go gangbusters. So we're really looking to that presidential election. So yes, that's a little bit on buffered ETFs. Let me see if there's any other questions coming in. All right, looks like that's it. So with that, thank you, everyone. Make it a great week. Take care. I will be out of town, so we won't be going next week. I'll be in Indianapolis at a continuing education for wealth management. So with that, make it a great week. We won't be on next week, but we'll be on the week after that. So thank you so much. Take care.